So I was actually introduced to it was Rachel House at the time when I was in high school. My home ec teacher, fax teacher, Karen Bauer, during child development had a lady come in from Rachel House and share her story with us as high school students. And so that was the first time I was really introduced to Rachel House. After we got married and started having babies, I was a high school teacher myself and wanted to stay home, but still wanted to be involved somehow, serving, doing something. And so our two oldest at the time had started school. Truman, our youngest at the time, was in preschool, so I had a couple hours during the week to myself. And so I went through the process of becoming a client advocate for Rachel House, and I loved it. I loved getting to be in the room with the girls. I loved being able to share hope with them, share a little bit of my own story with them, and then of course getting to share Jesus with them. The ultimate hope was amazing. I've always wanted a huge family, and after Truman, our youngest, I no longer could have babies, and so I thought, well, okay, God, I thought for sure you wanted us to have a large family. I don't really understand if I'm not going to have babies. And I remember I had to have C-sections and laying on the operating table and being, you kind of the mixed joy of having a baby and then also this being final. This is going to be it for us. And God very clearly told me, Tricia, this is not the end of your motherhood journey. And I was like, well, okay, Lord, but what does that mean? Because I can't have babies. And then of course, I just saw adoption everywhere. It seemed like every movie we watched or an article I read, of course, when I started volunteering for Rachel House, that of course is a viable option. So I waited for about a year. Truman was a year old when I started bringing up the idea of adoption to you.
He was about a year old, and we had our hands full with 3 of them, and she brings it up to us, and I'm thinking, whew, we're already running every which direction. And so then she brought it up, and I let it go for...
Well, you thought I was crazy. You were just like, no, we're not doing that. You're crazy. We have 3 kids. We're stretched thin on finances. We're stretched thin on time. Like, how are we going to manage a 4th child, let alone... Just there was lots of questions and unknowns. And I'm like, Lord, if my husband's not on board and you've called me to adopt, I don't understand how that's going to work. And so I'm a slow learner. And so for about a year...
She's very persistent.
Yes, but I would say nagged. I nagged you about it for a year and just would not let it go. Like, Lord, change my heart, because I was heartbroken that he wasn't on board with me. Change my heart, take that want away, or change Clayton's heart. I can specifically remember we were driving home from the lake.
Labor Day.
Father's Day.
Father's Day.
It was Father's Day weekend, and he just turns to me and he's like, I think I'm ready to talk about adoption with you now. And I was like, I'm like wanted to scream about it. But at the time I was trying to be very calm and collected. And by talk about it, I took that as, okay, we're going to do it. Like, let's turn in all our paperwork. Yeah. It was very fast from the time he said, yes, let's talk about it, to when things started to move and progress. It went from Father's Day, you said, let's talk about it, to we met with an agency, Zoe's House is who we partnered with. They're amazing. And by August, we were having our home studies. And again, all through that season, I was working it was Rachel House at the time, as a client advocate. And that's how we really came to know about Zoe's House. The adoption agency was through Rachel House. Started the process.
Long process. They come out and they meet the kids. We've had dinner a couple times, and
you essentially make a scrapbook of your family.
Yeah.
Try to just capture what your family is about in pictures and a few words. And so we did that, got it turned in, and the next day we got our first phone call. A birth mom was going to receive our profile book. I was always hopeful to have a relationship with the birth mom too. So we just got excited and thought, okay, Lord, we've been obedient. We've done what you've asked us to. We're on the same page. This is it. Like this is going to be the baby. We're like, why else would we get called the next day?
And then that didn't happen.
It didn't. And that was a hard season to. It's hard not to take it personal when you're told no, you've not been chosen. And we knew all along too, like these babies are going to amazing families and the birth moms are being taken care of. So that was helpful. We just didn't realize, I think, going into it, what a roller coaster ride it would be. I thought through being obedient, it was gonna be easy. And that was a really good lesson for me because it was one of the hardest things we've ever done together. We were told no 7 times. And it had been a year and a half at this point where we really called, is that really what he wanted from us? Right. And we got the phone call about Boone. We had a trip planned for my mom's 60th birthday. We were gonna do a big family trip to the beach. She was due in like 3 weeks. Yep. And so it was gonna be a much accelerated process. And I honestly, at that point, was like, she's not gonna choose us. Let's say yes, but like that was my mindset going into it. We talked about it, of course, we said yes, called Christina. I was like, but you know, we're supposed to go on this trip. We're going to Alabama, what do you think? She's like, go. It's her first baby. She's probably not gonna have him on time, you know, just go. So we load up all our family and we go to Alabama.
We'd gone shopping and out to dinner. We were sitting there and they called back and said, hey, so she chose you all. How quick can you get back from Alabama? Because she's in labor.
Yeah, so go from not thinking we're gonna do this to, yes, she's chose you, she's in labor, you need to come home now.
So we told everybody that day and had everybody loaded up at 5 a.m. on our way back. And so we got back to Kansas City around 7 o'clock and my folks met us. We were at the hospital to meet Boone at 8.
She had him while we were coming home.
Nurses were like, oh, they're here. So it was like kind of sneak us in there.
Yeah,
it was awesome. It really was.
It was surreal.
It was like we were walking on clouds. Like, I mean, walking in there, I can still see it right now. Like just that feeling that was, you was just laying there.
We got to meet Boone and to hold him. It was precious, and that was the first time we met her as well, Boone's birth mom. So we got to love on her for a little bit. People had good-naturedly told us, like, you're being told no for a reason, and you know, God's plan is best, and he knows what's gonna happen. And we knew that, but to live that out and believe it, but then when we held Boone, I was like, oh, this is why we were told no 7 other times. I understand now, Lord, and your ways are so much better. It was just, God just confirmed over and over through so many different avenues with us of that this is his plan and this is what I had for you and this is why. It was crazy and magical and just exhausting and all the things, but our house was a constant revolving door because so many people had prayed for us and had prayed for the baby and the birth mom. So, I mean, it was just, I have hundreds of photos of, because I tried to get a picture of everybody who came and loved on him.
He really has not met a stranger since.
No,
I mean,
he has not.
He's just a ball of joy and just, I mean, talk to anybody. He just is, he's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
looking back, I understand why we were told no all those other times. 2 days later, Annalise called us. Yes. We were getting ready to take him to the pediatrician's office and she's like, hey, we just found something out. We thought you guys would want to know. Boone's birth mom actually went to a Rachel House. She's a Rachel House client. I remember exactly where I was. Had him strapped to me and I was in my closet and I just sat on the floor and wept because I was like, Lord, like you didn't have to, that piece of it, you know, I was just like, I was just floored that he saw that piece and he knew the importance that Rachel House had to me personally and that he would use that avenue for Boone's birth mom to choose life because she came seeking an abortion. She told the social workers that was she told that part. So to know that she went there seeking an abortion and her advocate loved on her, shared truth with her, and gave her other viable options. And because of that, she chose life for Boone, she chose an adoption, and then she chose us. Like, I was just overwhelmed. I just can remember sitting in the closet and just sobbing and being thankful and like, it was just an amazing, we were both like, what?
Yeah, it was crazy to get that information. Like,
yeah.
Wow, full circle right there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, from beginning to end. Like he was just, I mean, it's amazing.